Right now on a special edition of To the Point for Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, marking 50 years since the fall of Saigon.
Had we not been successful, we probably would have been captured.
How the war shaped a new generation of local Vietnamese Americans. Plus, meet the Punjabi family influencing San Joaquin Valley fruits and wine.
To have that pride that your hard work is in that bottle.
The struggles they've overcome. And a somber sight. The Arboga internment camp now serving as a reminder to uphold people's rights. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of To the Point for Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Over the next half hour, we are sharing stories from our local communities, and we're starting with the impact of the Vietnam War. 2025 marks 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War. Today, California is home to the most Vietnamese refugees of any state. According to researchers at UC Davis, the 130,000 mostly Vietnamese refugees who arrived in the U.S. during 1975 were sent initially to 4 government centers, including Camp Pendleton, a Marine Corps base near San Diego. This is archive video of many of the arrivals at the base. By the year 2000, a fourth of all Vietnamese Americans were living in the San Diego, Los Angeles, and Bay Area regions. The Vietnam War spanned more than 19 years, claiming the lives of over 3 million people, and it became one of the longest, most costly, and controversial conflicts in U.S. history. But it's what came after the war that would go on to reshape an entire generation. I want to introduce you to Jackie Nguyen, who was just 3 years old when her family fled with nothing but hope, each other, and a desperate pursuit of freedom.
What my parents shared with me, life then was very simple but thriving.
Life was just beginning for Harry and Tammy Nguyen. They married in 1970 and would go on to have 2 children and dreams for the future. But the Vietnam War would threaten those dreams.
Clashes with North Vietnamese regulars in the central coastal plain near Bong Son.
The Vietnam War had been raging since 1955. The communist North Vietnam government was at war with South Vietnam. The U.S. joined the fight to support South Vietnam. But in 1973, American troops pulled out. Just 2 years later, communist forces captured the South's capital, Saigon, an event that marked the end of the war and would come to be known as the fall of Saigon.
When we left Vietnam, right before the fall of Saigon, my father was in the military, and so he knew that his life was going to be precarious if he didn't leave. He was helping out the South Vietnamese. My parents, in the darkness of the night, left. They were the boat refugee people. They left with the clothes on their back. We didn't have anything.
At just 3 years old, Jackie and her family made a life or death decision to escape their homeland by sea. Clinging to the hope of a better future for their children, they decided to head to Guam.
When we got on the boat, we were sandwiched together like sardines. My mom would always tell me, you can't really breathe. The risks were enormous because had we not been successful in leaving, we probably would have been captured and put in re-education camps and not have the life that we have here. Maybe not even be alive.
The fall of Saigon ended the war, but sparked one of the longest and largest refugee crises in history. Thousands died fleeing by sea, while the lucky escaped to camps in Guam, Thailand, and the Philippines. Over 1 million would start new lives in America.
People like my parents and myself, since we were part of that first wave of Vietnamese refugees who came here to the United States and settled here in California.
Jackie and her family becoming part of the 50,000 refugees housed at Camp Pendleton in San Diego, California. But the Nguyen's needed an American family to sponsor them.
The McManus family live in South San Diego, and they adopted us, just giving us that second chance in life. We call them grandparents.
The Nguyen's long-held dream of building a new life in America had finally come true. But different didn't mean easy.
We didn't speak English very well, so that was the social challenge. The economic challenge, my parents didn't have college degrees. My dad worked 3 different jobs. My mother works odd and end jobs, babysitting the neighbors' kids, collecting cans in the morning.
Her family's journey would come to define her not just as a survivor, but as a leader.
They would say, we don't care what you study in college, but you make sure you go to college, because that is going to be your foundation to get out of poverty, to make something of yourself.
Jackie would go on to study journalism and graduate from San Diego State University. Jackie Nguyen on the scene. Good morning.
Good morning, Lisa, and good morning, everyone.
I've always thought being Asian American, you always have to go into the medical field, engineering, doctor. The field of journalism back then, for me, I didn't think it was an option. I didn't know I wanted to be a journalist until my dad basically told me, he's like, you know, you should go into journalism.
In 2015, Jackie became the press secretary for the California Senate Republican Caucus.
Who would have thought that you would ever have this opportunity to work for the legislature and to be part of the process to help others out there, whether they're citizens, immigrants, underrepresented, or marginalized communities. In this position I'm in, we have an opportunity to help.
She serves on several boards and recently became a trustee for Solano Community College in 2024.
Thank you to Supervisor Mashering for being here to swear me in.
The first Asian American to hold the title.
I put up my right hand. In my mind at that time, I was like, Dad, I really wish you were here to witness this in person, to see me. But I know you're up there guiding me.
In 2019,
I remember getting the call.
Harry Nguyen passed away.
My dad has always been my hero. I didn't realize that until he passed away. My whole world turned, because my dad was the one who's always gave me the suggestions and ideas to be where I'm at today.
He carried her to safety as they escaped Vietnam and through every step of life after.
I just wish that my father was still alive today to see everything that's for me at this point in my life. My brother is a pharmacist. My sister is in sales engineering.
Living the very dream her parents once risked everything to give her.
I think it's important for generations now to understand how much of an impact that time period made, not just only in America's history, but for Vietnam's history as well. I will always be Vietnamese American. That's first and foremost, Jackie Nguyen, Vietnamese American. I'm an immigrant. I'm a woman. I'm somebody who thought that I would never have an opportunity for the opportunities that I've been given in life. And so when you see opportunities out there, seize them.
And Jackie, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your story with us. In the final days of the Vietnam War, there was a lesser-known humanitarian mission called Operation Baby Lift. In April 1975, children born to American and Vietnamese parents were airlifted out of Saigon, but it meant being separated from their birth families. The mission evacuated thousands of children from South Vietnam. One of those children was Huyen Friedlander. She was adopted by a Sacramento family just before the fall of Saigon. Like many adoptees, she spent years grappling with her identity until a remarkable reunion decades later with her birth mother in Vietnam.
In my case, my birth mother learned about this opportunity. She wanted to leave with me, but that was not possible. And so she had a very short amount of time to decide whether she would hand me over or not, and she did.
That life-changing reunion was only possible thanks to a crucial decision by Huyen's adoptive father, who preserved key documents during the chaotic adoption. Today, she is paying it forward by helping other adoptees reconnect with their roots through DNA testing. We have her full story at abc10.com. Coming up on this special edition of To The Point, we head to San Joaquin County, where Punjabi farmers shape the area's farming community. Welcome back to a To The Point special celebrating AANHPI Month. It is no secret that this region is very rich in agriculture, but what many people don't realize is just how strong the influence of Punjabi farmers has been in shaping our farming community. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen introduces us to two cousins in San Joaquin County whose family built their farms from the ground up, overcoming a lot of obstacles along the way.
So this task is called suckering.
This vineyard,
University language, those are water sprouts.
has been in Jagmohan Singh's family since 1972.
We're in Lodi. Ever since 1972, our family has had Zinfandel grapes.
This vineyard along Harney Lane in Lodi grows the grapes that eventually end up right here in the Zinfandel at Clinker Brick Winery.
This will mark 20 years of grapes of going to Clinker's Brick.
But none of this would have been possible for Singh if it wasn't for his family and cousin, Joga Mahil.
My grandfather, he started from his house in his village in 1906. He ended up in San Francisco in 1910. And then he settled, close to Stockton and then Yuba City.
After immigrating from India, Mahil says his grandfather came to America with nothing but a dream, to one day own land in California. But during the era of the Chinese Exclusion Act, Mahil says he faced harsh discrimination that made the dream nearly impossible, including laws that prevented him from buying property in his own name. This deed shows his grandfather bought the property under a different name.
When he started buying property in 1941, they were not able to own land in their own name, so they put it on somebody else's name.
Today, Mahil says his orange grove exists because of the sacrifices his grandfather made all those years ago to finally secure land in San Joaquin County. The family also grows almonds and pistachios in Madera.
He knew that this land was land of opportunity, that he wanted to settle and he wanted to bring his family here. He brought my dad in 1949. And then eventually my dad settled here.
This land here in Acampo has been in their family for nearly 40 years, and they're hoping by sharing their story they can continue to grow their farm within their family and encourage other Punjabi farmers to do the same.
Our community has grown such a amount, and we are in every farming community.
Making it that much sweeter knowing these oranges are on tables across the United States, and grapes from these vines end up in this wine bottle.
To have that pride that your hard work is in that bottle.
In San Joaquin County, Jeannie Nguyen, ABC 10.
Coming up, we hit the back roads of Marysville for a reminder of a dark moment in Japanese American history. In honor of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we are recognizing the history of the Japanese American community here in Northern California. And that included a dark time in our history. Shortly after the attack on Pearl Harbor, thousands were incarcerated in a camp just outside of Marysville. ABC 10 John's Bartell shares their story.
In 1942, wildflowers didn't grow here.
Well, my memory, my treatment, I can't never forget.
Instead, this land was covered in barbed wire, not to hold livestock, but to confine people.
We are unarmed, and you see these guard towers with rifles and machine guns. Soldiers with bayonets on their rifle patrolling the outer perimeter.
In 1942, more than 2,400 Japanese Americans from Placer and Sacramento counties were forced from their homes and sent here to the Arboga Assembly Center, just south of Marysville, California. This was one of many sites where families were incarcerated simply because of their heritage.
Why are we American citizens behind here? Why wasn't our Constitution, the United States Constitution, we have equal rights?
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, often referred to as the Japanese Relocation Act, which ultimately detained and interned over 120,000 people till the end of World War II.
Even if you only had as little as 1/16 of Japanese blood in your body, were forced into these concentration camps called relocation camp.
Minoru Tanimoto was 19 when he and his family arrived at the Arboga Assembly Center. This was one of more than a dozen temporary holding facilities on the West Coast where Japanese Americans were rounded up, processed and detained, while larger, more secure internment camps were being built.
And they stayed here for several months, and they all ended up at a more permanent camp called Tule Lake in Siskiyou County.
Arboga was a dilapidated migrant worker camp from the Depression era. Minoru described it as primitive campsites with inadequate bathrooms and squalid living conditions.
Everybody, especially where they had families of young ladies, young girls, they hung bed sheets, blankets for more privacy.
During the war, Japanese Americans were incarcerated in internment camps for nearly 3 years.
These pictures are people that lived in Marysville.
The Arboga Assembly Center has long since been removed, and few pictures were taken of the camp.
And they see those giant portraits that were taken in this professional photo studio, and they're pretty profound.
But some recently discovered historic portraits taken by local Marysville photographer Clyde Bush document some of the internees who lived in the area.
And people tell me all the time, I had no idea this existed right here in South Yuba County.
David Reed is with Yuba Sutter Arts and Culture, and with the help of the Japanese American Citizen League, they used grant money and those portraits to build a memorial to show anyone who passes by this place that people were interned here.
That memory still remains here. It's not going to go away.
Though this is just a patch of farmland today, Minoru believes that this memorial is a reminder of how history can and will repeat itself.
It's going to happen again. Look at the black people. Look at the Indians, the Native Americans. Where did they end up? They ended up in a reservation, the first concentration camp in America.
Minoru says there's plenty of evidence that history continues to repeat itself. He points out the detainment of Muslim Americans after 9/11 and the detainment of immigrants today.
We have a president now that's trying to do something about taking citizenship away from people that were offspring of parents that couldn't become American citizens.
The Arboga Assembly Center Memorial is here for people to remember.
What happened to us could happen again.
To remember the wrongs that the federal government made towards the people of the past and the people of the present. From the Arboga Assembly Center Memorial in Yuba County, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the backroads.
Welcome back into a special edition of To the Point in honor of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. A new documentary is shining a light on untold stories of Chinese women who grew up in California's Delta region. Filmmakers interviewed nearly a dozen women who say they grew up empowered by the generation of women who came before them. To learn more about it, you can head over to abc10.com. Before we go, we want to introduce you to Mei Di Lo, a Hmong dance coach using the power of art and movement to inspire young people and give back.
Hi, 안녕하세요. My name is Mei Di Lo. I am the dance coach of Goshua Singing. We are a Hmong dance group here in Stockton. Hmong dancing is a style based out of Southeast Asia. A lot of it's a lot more graceful. It's a lot slower. The biggest focus is the way that you move your hands. With the group, it really does allow the dancers to find a different avenue of connecting back to the Hmong culture itself. I've been dancing since I was 5 or 6. I've been part of probably 4 to 5 groups and have performed nearly 100 performances in my lifetime. I was always in a way coaching. What I hope that the group and the dancers are able to experience now and carry on with them through their lifetime is that same experience of the exhilaration of being on stage, building the self-confidence that also they can carry with them through their life and through their career and through adulthood. The Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month means visibility. It means celebrating who we are.
We thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of To The Point. If you have a story that you want to share, make sure to reach out to the team at tothepoint@abc10.com. And To The Point does not end here. If you want to watch stories featured on our show, download our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app straight to your TV.